and said, you know, do you want to do this with me? Because I was not a Star Trek fan, but I was very intrigued by the idea of creating a version of Star Trek that would appeal to me and people who were fans of adventure and fans of movies. Luckily, those three are significant Star Trek fans, and it was immediately the beginning of the conversations with us and Brian Burke just was among the most fun, you know, professional experiences ever, and was really one of the reasons why doing a sequel appealed to me so much, the idea of working with them and the crew and the cast again.
I guess we'll go back to the cast for that as well. Simon, what was the first thing you did, and then we'll work along?
I sat down because I got an email. I got an email from JJ. I just had landed on a flight from New York, and I opened my phone, and the first email that popped up was from JJ, and it just said, "Do you want to play Scotty?" And I was totally aware of the project, and I was very excited about it. And I thought, "Oh, great, JJ's doing Star Trek. This will be great." I didn't, for a second, expect to be involved. So when I got that very straightforward, blunt kind of request, I literally sat down and asked the plane to take off again, so I could think about it. I was worried. To be honest, I was a little bit like, oh, what do I say? I can't just say yes. It feels like we should have some romance, you know, some kind of. Can I be on tape or something? Or maybe we could go out for dinner and have a movie, and then I might say yes. You never know. And I felt like such a slut, just going yes. So I took like 3 days of pretending to think about it, and then JJ said, I remember very clearly. JJ said, because I was like, oh, this is such a huge commitment, and is it going to be like, are we going to be doing this for such a long time? And JJ said, the worst thing that can happen is that every couple of years we get to spend some time together and have a lot of fun, and it was just a no-brainer from that point.
Fantastic. Alice?
Ours was a little bit more romantic. JJ phoned me up and gave me a preamble for a good 20 minutes. I had to pull over and ask me if I was committed and if I was interested in Star Trek and if I understood what the costumes were and I understood what the requirements were. And I said yes to all of it, and then I didn't still know if he was asking me if I'd like to be part of it or if he just sort of wanted to tell me what he was going to go and do. And so I said, I'm sorry, are you offering me this film? And he goes, yeah, I think that's what's happening, yeah. And I said, all right then. I said, thanks, son. I said, thanks very much. And then I went home and I saw my brother, who I'd tired from making him run these lines with me, and it just went like that. Probably one of the cooler moments.
Sakri, the first thing you did when you got the gig?
I reached out to a friend of mine. I have a good friend from college who has been in his life to no less than 50 Star Trek conventions, who's now my business partner, actually, so that worked out. And I asked him to compile for me a booklet of information on the history of Vulcans and the life of Spock and the family tree, and we began to enter into a session of tutorials, which lasted only until the time when it was announced that I was going to play Spock, which was maybe another month and a half or 2 months later, and that's the first time that I met Leonard Nimoy, and then I fired my first tutor in favor of the second, who has subsequently become someone who's enormously important in my life, both personally and creatively. So he usurped that position.
I think you understood. And Chris?
I don't remember what I did, but what I do remember is that when I auditioned for JJ, I wasn't all that, I had auditioned for it and didn't get it, and then was called back in and was a little less enthused, probably because my ego was burned, but I do remember going into the room with JJ, and you know, it's the most vulnerable position an actor can be in, is going into a room and you're basically, you know, selling your wares and, you know, seeing if people like you. And it was such a comfortable room, and it was so much fun, and it had been such a long time, I remember, since an audition had been fun and not terrifying. And I thought, if the audition could be this much fun, I can't imagine what actually making the thing is going to be like, and any kind of trepidation or anxiety I had about the role or the franchise kind of disappeared completely. And I think it was really due to what JJ brings to it, and what we've been talking about, going around with this film, is that it not only is it for the fans, it's this whole different energy for non-fans alike, and it's fans of adventure and for action, for thriller and for romance and for, you know, all these different kind of colors that I think just the term science fiction can sometimes alienate or make people feel alienated from. So that was, I was just excited by the excitement in the room.
And Benedict, the first thing you did?
Well, I got an email, a little bit like Alice, I didn't pick up on the signals. The email said, do you want to come and play? And I went, what, squash or tennis or some kind of racket-based activity? And the penny slowly dropped and then I fell asleep. Because it was about 2 in the morning or something ridiculous. It had been so frenzied over Christmas getting myself on tape, and I'd done it and it had taken a day to compress this little file because iPhones are quite cool and take on a lot of information now. And once that had all been done, and I sort of breathlessly sat back and went, I got the note back saying, JJ's on holiday. So, it's fine, he has to have a rest sometime, but I just didn't get the tape in time before the holiday, so I waited and tried to forget about it. So it was the most thrilling news. I was just over the moon, and I was a huge fan of the first film for every reason that Chris has just kind of you reminded us of what the strengths of it were and what the strengths of this one are. It's just such a rich experience to be in his hands and storyteller's hands, where you're taken on a journey of high emotion, comedy, adventure, romance, and comedy, and then back through all that again. I mean, it's I knew it would be a riot, so I was well over the moon.
So presumably you didn't sleep when you got the news you heard?
No, I didn't. My first reaction was I was shooting Avatar, and I was really into it, and I got the call from my agent that JJ wanted me to come in and read for this role because he was going to direct Star Trek, and my first reaction was like, why? You know, and obviously being of the generation of Star Wars, I look at my mom and what Star Trek represented was just, you know, it was what my old people used to watch. And I knew very little about the show. And then I read my lines, and I remember everybody kept telling me, he's really excited to meet you, and that made me very nervous. And I came in, I read my scene once, and he told me, I don't need to hear anything else. And I was like, oh my God, I tanked this. He's going to ask me to leave, security's gonna walk me out, I'm never gonna read for him again. And then 2 days later, James Cameron tells me I'm on set, and he goes, I have a surprise for you. And I look, you know, over there, like on the set, and JJ is visiting the set. And I felt so happy and humbled, and I thought, well, then I must have booked the part. And then obviously that was the beginning of me sitting down with my mom and picking her brain in terms of what Star Trek really is and what it represented to her and people, everybody that is devoted to the show. And I gained so much respect, and I'm utterly excited and blessed to be here with everybody.
Thank you. And Carl?
Well, I found out relatively quickly, I guess. I met with JJ, and I thought that the meeting went horribly, absolutely terribly, because I asked JJ asked me, do you have any questions? And I said, yeah, what's the story? He goes, I can't tell you. I said, well, I guess I've got no questions. So I walked out of our initial meeting thinking, well, that was fun. I'm never going to see this guy again. And then he invited me to test for the role of Bones, and so I went into this reading, and I read for it, and I remember getting halfway through, and JJ's laughing. And it threw me, because I hadn't done theatre for quite a while, and I'm thinking, what the heck's he laughing at? And then it sort of clicked. And then at the end of the take, I distinctly remember JJ going, oh my gosh, that's it, that's Bones. So I walked out of there sort of with a pretty good sense that it went well, and then, I mean, literally within the space of, I think it was about maybe an hour and a half, we got the word back that the role was on offer to me. And I remember being completely thrilled, elated, excited, and then just the most terrifying horror came over me that now I was actually going to have to deliver this and figure out how to make it work, because, you know, unlike many of these, Simon excluded, these cast members, I was actually, you know, a huge fan of the original show. So yeah, for me, I guess it was like, you know, I was elated and then absolutely terrified.
Excellent. There's a gentleman here in the
Can I just ask the cast whether there was any particular prop or piece of costume